Good evening, everyone. This is Matt Clare and Ben Golan. You're tuned in to the Lubbock or Leave It podcast, a recruiting podcast on RedRaidersports.com, made possible by our friends at Carnley Properties. We'll include all the information when we post this on the site, but Clayton Carnley is a friend of the site and our, exclusive recruiting content sponsor this spring. And so, please give him a holler for any Austin Metro real estate needs. We'll post all that information, like I said, but again, Carnley Properties for all of your Austin Metro real estate needs. But Ben, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Just got done, another AAU tournament over the weekend, but here we are. It's the, Thursday, the 27th. And, the next time we'll do this, the dead period, 15 months will be over. So
exactly.
Some exciting news right there.
You're going to become a regular on the AAU circuit, man. There's going to be some posterization dunk and people are going to be, wait a minute, that's Ben, underneath the sideline there.
I hope so, because that means Texas Tech is recruiting a bunch of studs. So, that's good news.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have been crushing it. I can't even keep up with the amount of transfers on the basketball side. But, I mean, that kind of segues pretty good to what you and I wanted to talk about, because clearly in football right now, that's what we talk about on this podcast. And transfers, again, are the subject of the conversation. And the coaches, I want to say just off the top of my head, there's a list of about 10 to 11 new additions if you count junior college and transfer type of targets, I guess, guys that are older and meet some of those standards and goals that Matt Wells has described in recent media sessions. But, Ben, I know that you've posted recently about a wide receiver target. So, I guess we just want to let it rip. Let's start talking about him and then we can get into a few other guys.
Yeah. Kalen Geiger. We've posted about him. First got word of this a couple days ago, but he's a senior who is an all Sun Belt player the last 2 seasons at Troy, originally from Fort Worth, and so there's local tie-in. His quarterback at Troy, Parker McNeil, obviously transferred to Tech. Also, and so there's a lot of connections there. I believe Sonny Cumby coached with his former JUCO coach at some point. So there's just a lot of tie-ins there. And I think Tech is very interested here. The word is he wants to move back to the state of Texas. I believe he has a baby on the way due in August, and he has family here, obviously being from Fort Worth. And so it sounds like Tech, TCU, maybe some other regional schools are involved. I think Auburn was trying to get involved, but as I said here today, I believe the Red Raiders are in a good position for Kalen Geiger, and he's more of a slot guy, but I believe he can be moved around. He's not, he's 5'10", so not super tall, but also not super short. So he can get out there, and he's a speedster. He can make plays, and so just another potential weapon for Sonny Cumby and Tyler Shock, to use. That I think he'd be a tremendous addition if it were to happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, numbers don't lie, first of all, and then you look at the experience, and anytime you can add that or, compete and recruit for that type of talent, we're sitting here talking on May 27th. So, you blink your eyes and it'll be June. And then right after that will be, check-in, summer camp, right into the fall. And so, that's exactly what the coaches are trying to do. So I know that he's pretty close to a decision. And if you say he wants to get close to home, then it's kind of you and the Horned Frogs. So, always good to compete and try to land guys like that. So, I mean, I think even with the video someone had posted with Easy Eric Izukama working out, kind of doing his thing, this type of addition would just be depth and experience. And I mean, I think you'd be really hard pressed to find, any negatives, if you will, about adding somebody this late in the state, this late in the game with that many stats. And really, I mean, I don't know the exact stats, maybe you do, but they're pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, I have it pulled up right now. Over 750 yards each of the last 2 seasons. Even with the shortened season last year, it went over 750. 9 touchdowns the last 2 seasons. He's had 9 100-yard games. including 4 just last season. And so, yeah, just a very impressive player. And and this is the type of guy that I think they've been looking to add ever since Jalen Polk left. You know, however many months ago that was, because they have talent. You know, Jerome Bradley and Loic Fungi and JJ Sparkman, Trey Cleveland, but all these guys are freshmen. You got to have a guy who's been there and done that. And I think Kalen
Mhm.
Geiger is that. And you know, they have a few spots to play with. We've heard, you know, receiver, O line, you know, DB, maybe a D line. Geiger would be an absolute home run addition with all his production and everything that he can bring to the field.
Well, I guess the one question I have, and I don't want to put you on the spot if you're not sure, but like, how long has he been on the transfer market? Like, how long has it been known that he was leaving Troy?
Yeah, not very long at all. I think 2 days ago, it was the Rivals portal, you know, official Twitter posted that he's in the portal and you know takes off from there. But as we all know, things can be in action before that. I don't know that for a fact. It's always a possibility. So sometimes, you know, but these things they usually wrap up pretty quickly. Tyler Shuck was what, 10 days, and he's a
Yeah,
Red
I think it was
Raider.
less than that. Yeah. No,
Yes.
and I mean, I was just curious. I think the point I was trying to make there is that when you do have those spots, you know, maybe contrary to some popular belief, you can be picky, or you can maybe expect other targets to just become available, right? I think we're right around school ending and graduations and kids being able to make those types of decisions. So it just wouldn't surprise me if we saw more and more and more of this. And I think we've said for a long time on this podcast, it really is specific to the player. Just because they're a defensive tackle doesn't mean you rush to sign them. I think the coaches, the positive, and even some of those things that Wells had said, is that you really get to know some of the kids on Zoom, and the graduates have a different perspective or a mindset. And so, especially for some of these kids, you know, I would imagine he has 1, potentially 2 years left. You know, they only have one chance to get this decision right. So I think, you know, when they choose Tech, and, you know, when they can add that depth, you know, I know it kind of depends on which way the wind's blowing, but you've got to think those guys are coming in here hungry to play and produce right away.
Yeah, and you know, next week is when all the mid-year signees come in too, I believe. The rest of the 2020
Right.
class, and so yeah, this is the time. You know, I expect a decision shortly, like you mentioned, and there could be several of these, you know, dominoes as guys look to enroll in time to take summer classes and join the team for their off-season work.
I know we're going to get more to that later, but the other guy that, I mean, and this really all started to develop today, so much so to where, you know, we had a Mike Farrell appearance on Red Raider Sports. So the Godfather, if you will, came to post about Ali Green, another graduate transfer with the extra COVID year. He is a safety or defensive back. He can play both, from Tulsa. And so the more you dig into this young man, I mean, if you recall, 2 weeks ago, we're already talking about a Caleb Evans, another 2017 safety that went to Tulsa. For those that maybe are watching this and aren't up to speed with the whole situation, the defensive back coach from Tulsa took the same position at Missouri recently. And I don't know his name, I don't know the whole story, but apparently, you know, both are pretty close to him. So apparently Missouri's in the mix for both. But with the Caleb, you know, once he posted about Texas Tech and other offers, it was just offer. And I think right now he's been quoted as saying like Texas, Notre Dame, and maybe another are in the mix. So I guess interestingly enough, Ali Green only announced his transfer, a couple days ago as well, right, Ben? Okay,
Yeah, and
got it.
he has Louisiana Tech, Hawaii, and Texas Tech so far publicly. We don't know what other coaches have hit him
Sure.
up. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, and he posted that offer really while we were sleeping, right? I mean, that was like 11:40 or something at night. And so anyway, I thought I was interested. All we've done is shared some text messages, but I kind of teased it there off the top. But if you're not a subscriber to the site, or if you're just seeing this, Mike Farrell is a national, you know, recruiting director for Rivals.com, which Red Raider Sports, you know, funnels up to, and he posted that he thinks Ali Green is close to committing to Texas Tech. And so, that has to be pretty good sourced info, if I know Mike, for everything everybody jokes about. But the interesting part of that is that this transfer stuff, it's so quick, right? That's why I kind of asked you some of those questions earlier. These kids get their name in the portal 1 to 2 days, and it either goes, like we mentioned with his former teammate, Caleb Evans, as it's offer, and you start to see these things. But to me, it's kind of interesting that, maybe some of these kids, I don't know, maybe the offers have a time, but look at the calendar, Ben. I mean, if the dead period ends in a week or so, I mean, what's the rush? If you want to come home to Texas, right? I'm just making this up. Maybe you take a visit to Lubbock. Maybe you take a visit to Waco, Austin, right? I'm just making that up. But I mean, these kids kind of have those options. But again, Allie Green, I think have more details on this, but you start to search the kid on Twitter and social media and whatnot, and he has real length, 6'3", 205, I believe, and he already has NFL scouts and kind of NFL draft Twitter already, putting videos and clips out there on him. So, these are big, long defensive backs, and he's another guy with over 1,800, plus college snaps. He played as a true freshman. So again, if the coaches are able to secure a commitment from him, like Farrell teased about, I mean, you're adding immediate depth to a safety or corner unit that, quite frankly, I mean, is a completely different room than the team that finished the season. So I don't know. To me, that's just wildly interesting. And really with both of these guys we talk about.
Yeah, I'm not going to pretend that I've seen a ton of Allie Green games or Tulsa games, but like you mentioned, you just look on Twitter what all the scouts are saying. Recruiting analytics has this guy as the top group of 5 corner in the country. From Austin, Texas. They played Oklahoma State last year, and he just shut down Tylan Wallace. It's those type of things that they just add up, and you're like, wow, this addition. I mean, this is a no-brainer. And you mentioned the whole new DB room. I mean, I listed it today. You would have Rashad Williams, from UCLA, Malik Dunlap, Muddy Waters, Reggie Pearson, just so many, Power 5 transfers. He wouldn't be a Power 5, but he's graded out as that high. It's
Sure.
just the amount of depth the coaches have added is tremendous. If he comes, I'm not saying that he's committed yet. If he comes,
Yeah.
Like I said, I posted, I think it'd be the best secondary that I've seen at Tech. I haven't been around too long, but it's just, I think it would be tremendous.
Yeah. I did read that, and I don't, I never position myself as. There's some people, like I always say, like Jason Howe and Brian Peroni. They're like human encyclopedias. They remember all this stuff, and so I don't proclaim to have that. Right? When I leave work, I kind of turn that off and chill. But yes, I mean, you've been there. You've been at these camps, and Howe's like, oh, well, that's actually James Wallace, 2024, Garland, whatever. I mean, you're like, how do you know that? So anyway, but yeah, I mean, it kind of what I wanted to talk about, Ben, was, and I'll just throw this out there because I'm sure we can be lengthy on this. I know you want to go watch your sons, but what does it say about recruiting if we are talking about 2017 2-stars in Evans and the Alley kid that we just talked about, 2-star kids, very small offer lists, and committed to Tulsa, I wouldn't say late, but definitely into the recruiting process. They waited for other offers, if I'm just cutting through it, and they go to college. They develop from 2-stars to both of them, before they were even considering transferring or anything, we're already getting NFL draft buzz, right? You mentioned earlier when we were doing a little bit of prep that Tulsa had a linebacker drafted in the first round. So they're doing something right on defense over there. But what does it say about recruiting if in even 2017, I know it seems like a long time ago, but what does it say if these 2-star guys with good length, but not great offer lists, what does it say when they're really, really outperforming a lot of these guys? Because now that the transfer portal is a real thing, I've seen so many 4-star guys that, and forget if they're from 2019 or 2020, we're seeing kids been from the 2021 class that are transferring before they even get to campus. And these are highly rated kids. So I guess I don't know. What does that say about this whole thing that we do with the rankings process?
Yeah, it's wild. It's all about development. And like you said, the Tulsa coaches have to be doing something right. They had a great defense last year, and it's just as far as like the rankings. I don't know. All these kids nowadays, they play. They have football all year round. They play 7-on-7. They have access to all these specialized trainers. So they're, if they want to do all that, they all have access to those. Uh, all those
Good point.
things. Yeah, and so what's the difference between a 2-star from Austin and a 4-star from Dallas? I don't know. It's a guy like me or you, taking a video and posting to Twitter and like, hey, look at this crazy catch. I mean, I really don't know. We don't do rankings for a reason, right?
That's true.
So I don't really know where to go with that, but yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it's a very open-ended question. When we were talking earlier, I asked it and I said, you know what, let's talk about that because I just wanted to see where it went because absolutely there is no answer, right? But it again, if we go back to what I've said on the past couple of pods, when you think about this new world that we live in, it's not 2017, right? These kids, I won't use the same Jalen Polk example, but even some of these kids I've seen multiple JUCOs that enroll early and leave and are already at another program because, they've already spent their time at JUCO. They're not messing around with potentially not playing or not starting. And I don't know what that says or what that means. But then you also have this idea of, okay, well, what if the shoe's on the other foot, right? And, yeah, sure, it's great Tech's getting these grad transfers from Tulsa or whatever other conferences. But then what if the shoe's on the other foot and, those, those guys turn into, the Jakeem Grant, but then they have the option to leave or go elsewhere. Or I don't know, like what another good example would be. But Jordan Brooks, right? If this were 2017 and he's crushing it, what if he wanted to go play inside linebacker at LSU, right? So, I mean, that part of it, I wouldn't say is like scary, but it's unpredictable. And I think it's just really up to the coaches. Like you said, it's development. But if they're able to get guys with this much experience, I think it says more about the coaches if they're able to create a cohesive unit out of that and truly improve what they're doing on the field. Because at the end of the day, that's all that matters, right? I think another poster, I liked his comment today. He compared it to Moneyball because you don't understand it, but it's almost like a necessity of what the A's needed to do to compete with the teams that were spending 150, $200 million a year, right? So
yeah, yeah. And along with getting the talent, I mean, it's equally as important for the coaches to keep the younger guys on the roster happy. I'm talking like specifically DB. If they get, Ali Green, that's 5 or 6 additions. I'm just looking at, Kobe Minor and Nate Floyd and just like, hey, hopefully, those guys understand their time is going to come. They might not see the field as early with all these additions, but that's a whole other recruiting job in its own, right there for the staff.
the coach's job is to win games and to create competition in that room, right? I mean, those boys have the choice to, put their head down and compete and earn that spot just as much as the kid coming in. I don't think they really promise these kids anything. And ultimately, like, I know it's not an apples to apples thing, but do you think Nick Saban and his staff are like, yeah, hey, we want you to come here and we guarantee that you're going to play 30 minutes again? You know what I'm saying? Like that just doesn't happen. So I think that's where you create that pressure cooker and you create that competition, and hopefully that's what can take the program from the basement to back to a little bit of respectability, 6-7 wins, and you got to hope that can work. But I mean, it's the Wild West out here. We don't know. I mean, we've been covering recruiting for a while now, and we can't predict what transfers, departures, et cetera. We can't predict what that means. But I know real quick what we wanted to do, Ben, before we talk that 30 more minutes is I alluded to it earlier. The open contact period starts in about a week and a half. I know that I talked to Austin Kowecki, the offensive lineman out of Frisco. Again, I wrote the story. You can see it on his profile, or maybe we can link it here. Parents went to Tech, sister goes to Tech, family in Lubbock. So he's doing this unofficial visit next week, and he's doing that before the coaches start hosting camps. So I think that's next Tuesday and Wednesday. So it sounds like he'll be doing a whole weekend type of deal. I don't know. I got the feeling that if this goes very well, he's still going to take his visits, right? Because these kids haven't been able to do anything. But I feel like if there were ground to be made up, and meaning if you offered after the other schools that he's going to go see, then this visit first to get to know the coaches and truly be one of the first visitors in 15, 16 months. I mean, he's going to get the red carpet, dude, right? All the things you see on Instagram with balloons and cookies and this, that, and the other. I mean, he's going to be treated like royalty. So that's got to be a positive, right?
Yeah, and there's definitely reason, to feel good there with the Red Raider family. And, we have the list of all the visitors, and we'll obviously follow up with all these recruits just to confirm, because things change. It's probably been a week or two since we last asked some of these guys. But one guy I'm looking at is Major Everhart. Just again, this is a guy we've come back to so many times as a key recruit. I think he has an official to TCU and one to Tech. I know he's been offered by, Penn State, Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, some of these other Power 5 programs. I'm not sure if he's got visits to go there or not, but he's just a guy who's blown up on the track this offseason. And so I just think that's just a key battle, and the guy that I'm looking at as one of the, major recruits of this class.
Yeah, I'd agree. He's a difference maker. He's in your backyard, and they've been in on him, since day one. They were his first Power 5 offer, maybe his first offer. I don't recall, but we exchanged some messages. He's been really busy. I think, guys, you got to remember this time of year, kids are doing finals. They're finishing school. They just don't have a ton of time to talk. So we've just been going back and forth in messages. Again, I feel good about that one. The real crossroads with the West Texas kids is, do they want to stay in their backyard, or do they want to kind of move away? And so I'll never fault them for that, but I do think the coaches are in a pretty good spot with Major.
I agree.
I would say for me, just looking across this list, a guy that I really need to talk to again, but that we've seen at camps and that, shows a lot of promise to me just from a body type and a makeup, is Kyron Chambers from South Oak Cliff. And that's another one where, you've recruited that school, you've recruited some of his upperclassmen, they're on the team, they can learn about the culture, they can connect with them in different ways than the coaches could ever recruit the young man. And so he's always had positive things to say, and, a lot of offers, but definitely not competition that Tech couldn't win against. So he's another one that I'm interested in. I know I mentioned him and Kawecki. Is there anyone else that you wanted to point out, Ben?
I mean, there are several, but just one guy real quick I wanted to touch on just because I thought it was interesting. He posted, along with visits, there are going to be campers. And Arlington lineman Jacob Waller, he's like 6'5", 290, and he's close to 20 offers. He posted that he plans to make it to campus. And so I expect Tech will offer some of these campers. I don't know who, but out of all the guys, you usually don't see, prospects with 20 offers make it. And I just thought it was interesting because he has an official visit to SMU the day before he plans on making it to Tech. So that's just interesting. I don't think you see that too often. And
it's not that interesting, though. If you live in Arlington, how many times do you go to Dallas, per week, per month? I mean, it's not that interesting.
I think it is.
SMU is boring. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I know you were telling me I pointed this kid out at a camp or something, but I don't know. Look, 6'5", 290, it's easy to spot. And, if he can move well enough to get these other offers, really, I don't fault the coaches. They haven't been able to see these kids in person. If a kid's willing to come to camp and the kid wants to get out and about, for the summer, then I think it's a win-win. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I mean, kids like Jack Tucker got their offer after a camp. Who else?
Philip Bleedy, Trey
Philip
Cleveland.
Bleedy, thank you. Yeah. And that brings another guy to mind that we need to follow up with is Roger from New Mexico.
Sure.
I'm not going to butcher his last name, but another kid we've seen at camp that's an offensive lineman, tall, like Farmer likes him, but got the frame to fill out. I mean, I don't recall his exact weight, so I don't want to, get it wrong here on the podcast. But, I mean, I liked what I saw from him, and I think if the coaches can get these kids on campus and at least show them what Tech's all about, right? That's the whole goal of getting a kid on campus. And, then from there, the coaches can evaluate them in person, especially in the camp setting, right? It's not going to take them long to figure out if he's an offer or not. And if they're already talking with him, then they're already sort of evaluating the person as well.
Yeah, we both liked him a lot, and I think Oregon State offered him, so he's got a Power Five and Boise State, and a few other regional schools. So I agree. We both liked him a lot. I hope that he does make it to campus.
Well, I mean, the last recruit I'm going to mention, Ben, it's a 2032 kid. His name is Mason Clare. He's going to be camping next Thursday and Friday in Lubbock. So, I mean, the future is now.
I've heard he has heavy feet though. He's got to quitting that up a little bit.
Yeah, I told him that, but it's just camp. I mean, he's 7, so right now we're just gonna let the chips fall. But yeah, when I signed him up for camp, it made you choose a position, so I chose quarterback. And then all the footballs we usually play with around the house are like, I don't know, they're little goofy footballs or Nerf balls or whatever, and some of them are real balls, but they're for little kids. And so I was up at Academy and I figured, okay, well, let me look at the aisle. Let me get like the official size because I clicked quarterback. I don't know why, I just clicked quarterback. I wasn't going to choose running back or receiver or anything. So I got him the ball and now he's complaining that the ball's too big and that he can't throw it. And I said, you better not tell that to the coaches when we're in Lubbock. So we'll see how it goes, man. I have no idea like what size balls they're going to give to the 7-year-olds, but I think they'll have a lot of fun, man. I'm going to get out there with the camera and take some pictures. But I mean, really, like right after those little boys are done, all those kids that you just mentioned, they're coming in the weekend, and then the weekend after that, official visits. So this long, boring drought of recruiting, I don't know, just sadness and the desert of recruiting info should come to an end, Ben. But any other thoughts other than this 2032 stud that I mentioned?
No, that's it. I'm excited for everything to open back up, and we'll be on top of it. So definitely stay tuned to Red Raider Sports.
Do you wish that the Suns had a player like Luka, or like?
I wish that we were playing the bum Clippers that the Mavericks are, not the Lakers. That's what I wish.
I'm just kidding. Yeah, that sucks, man. All right. Well, hey, good luck tonight, guys. Again, this is the Lubbock or Leave It podcast. We will talk with you guys next week. And again, we're going to post the information, but thanks to our friends at Carnley Properties. Contact Clayton Carnley for any of your Austin Metro real estate needs. We appreciate it. Ben, have a good night.